Tonight, nothing important needs your attention. You are allowed to rest. You are safe here. You may fall asleep whenever you like. You do not have to follow every detail. If your thoughts drift away, the story will quietly go on. It will be here if you return to it. And if you do not, if you slide into sleep and stay there, that is perfect too. It is night on the high stone terrace of Persepolis. The last warmth of the day is fading from the limestone under your feet. Above you, the sky is a deep, endless blue-black, already crowded with stars. Far below the great platform, the plain is turning to shadow. The last fragments of daylight have already slipped away from the fields, leaving only a dim suggestion of shapes where the land stretches outward. What was once a patchwork of paths and plots and scattered dwellings is now a single, dark, breathing expanse. As if the earth itself were settling under a wide, soft blanket. Small, scattered fires glow around distant villages, faint and steady. They prick the darkness like quiet, patient stars fallen to the ground. Each one surrounded by lives and stories you will never know. Small circles of warmth where people sit close together, finishing their day in slow conversation or simple silence. From up here, the fires barely flicker. They seem almost unmoving, as if the night has slowed them too, holding them in place like small beads of light along the horizon. Up here, the air is cooler, thinner, almost weightless in your lungs. Each breath feels cleaner than the one before, drifting in through your nose like a cool ribbon, sliding down into your chest and widening it gently from within. When you breathe out, there is no heaviness. No effort beyond the natural turning of the body's tide. It is as if the entire plateau breathes with you. Stone and air and distant lights moving in the same slow rhythm. You are wrapped in a soft wool cloak, and the night presses gently against it. The fabric holds the last traces of daytime warmth close to your skin, while the surface gathers the cool touch of the air. Where the cloak touches your wrists and the back of your neck, you notice how tender that contact feels. Not tight, not restrictive, simply present. Like a hand resting lightly on your shoulders, reminding you that you are safe. When the breeze stirs, the hem of the cloak shifts, brushing against your ankles in a calm, familiar gesture. You stand at the foot of the grand stairway. The base of it spreads before you, wide as a quiet river of stone. Its first steps gently rising from the terrace as if inviting you upward. Here, at this meeting point of the plain and the palace, you can feel how the great platform lifts you into a different kind of world. Not above the earth, exactly, but cradled slightly apart from it. In a place made for ceremony and slow, intentional movement. The steps are wide and shallow, meant for slow, dignified movement. They do not ask for effort, only for presence. Each one gives the foot plenty of room to land, inviting every stride to be placed rather than taken. You can easily imagine lines of robed figures ascending here. Each step measured, each gesture deliberate. The architecture itself guiding their bodies into calm, steady motion. Each one is worn with the quiet memory of many ceremonial feet. Every edge has been softened, every corner rounded just a little. Not by careful tools, but by countless heels and sandals. By the repeated touch of human weight over years and years. When you glance down, you notice shallow hollows. Places where the stone has given way in the slightest degree. Not enough to be irregular, but enough to remind you that this grand staircase has been alive with movement. It is old, and it remembers. Yet it receives you as gently as if you were the first to step upon it. A small lamp has been placed near the base, its flame deep and steady. The clay vessel that holds it is unremarkable at first glance. A simple shape smoothed by use and darkened by smoke. Yet in this moment, it feels like the quiet heart of the world. A single, living point of fire resting calmly on the stone. The flame leans ever so slightly to one side, responding to the faintest movement of air, yet always returning to its vertical, unwavering self. It pools warm light across 2 or 3 steps, and then the glow fades. Within that small circle, every grain of the stone is visible. Every curve and soft impression rendered in gentle gold. Beyond it, the texture melts into dusk, and then into a subtle, velvety darkness where shapes blur and dissolve. The boundary between light and not light is feathered. A gradual dimming rather than a sharp line, as if the night is respectfully allowing the lamp to exist, while quietly reclaiming everything beyond its reach. Above that little circle of gold, the staircase continues into soft shadow. You can see just enough to know the steps are there, rising and rising toward the level above. But the details are absorbed by the evening. It feels as though the stairway is leading you into a gentler realm of perception. A place where you navigate more by trust and rhythm than by clear, sharp sight. The darkness ahead does not threaten. It simply invites you to walk slowly, to let your other senses wake and listen. You place one foot on the first stone step. Your soul makes a faint, hollow sound as it lands. A small, honest contact between body and earth. For a brief moment, you feel the exact shape of the step beneath you. Its width, its shallow rise, the smoothness of its surface. And then the sensation settles into something familiar and easy, as if you have climbed these steps many times before. The surface is cool, not cold, and very slightly polished. There is no harsh bite of chill. Only a comfortable coolness that meets your skin and steadies you after the lingering heat of the day. Here and there, your foot senses minute irregularities. A faint dip, a smoothed ridge. Small signatures of age that let you know this place has lived. The slight polish under your sole feels like the memory of movement. Like the touch of all those who have walked this path before you. Your weight moves forward, and your body understands, we are going slowly. Muscles that might have tensed for a hurried climb instead soften in anticipation of an unhurried ascent. Your spine lengthens a little. Your shoulders sink down and back. And there is a subtle easing at the base of your neck. You are not in a race. There is no finish line. Only one step, and then another. And the quiet company of the night around you. There is nowhere else to be. For this span of time, this staircase is your entire world. Stone under you, sky above you. The faint breath of the breeze and the occasional flicker of lamplight. Nothing presses on you from before. Nothing pulls you from ahead. All the concerns of the day feel like they belong to another life. One that is resting somewhere far below on the darkened plain. There is no hurry at all. The night has already spread its wide cloak over the land. And it will not take it back soon. You are held inside a long, generous moment, where everything can unfold at its own pace. If you feel the urge to rush, you can let it rise and fade again, like a brief gust of wind. The staircase is in no haste, and you are allowed to match its patience. You begin to climb. The first few steps are a conscious decision, a gentle commitment to movement, to leaving the terrace behind for a while and entering the slow ascent. With each step, you feel your body settling into a rhythm, familiar yet new in this vast, sacred setting. Step, breath. You place your foot down, and the sound is soft but clear. A small whisper on the stone. Air moves into your lungs, cool and thin, carrying the scent of night and distant dust. Your ribs open, then close again. Step, breath. Your other foot rises and falls. Another quiet contact, another inhale pulling in the sky. With every repetition, the pattern becomes smoother. Like a phrase spoken again and again. Until the words no longer need to be thought about. The shallow rise means you hardly lift your feet, just glide upward. Your legs do not strain, they simply cooperate. Bending and straightening in a relaxed, unforced motion. It feels less like climbing and more like drifting forward. On a gentle current of stone. Your steps skim over the surface. Never needing to push, never needing to leap. The staircase meets you with kindness. Its measured incline guiding you rather than challenging you. Your cloak brushes lightly against your legs, whispering over the stone. With each shift of your body, the fabric shifts too. A soft swish keeping time with your motion. Sometimes the cloak brushes your ankles. Sometimes your calves. And each contact is small and comforting. A friendly reminder of warmth in the cool air. The sound of cloth over stone is almost like speech. A quiet murmur that says, "You are moving, but you are still held." The night air is still, only the faintest breeze touches your cheeks. It feels like the light breath of a sleeping world. Barely enough to stir your hair. Just enough to remind you that the air is there. That the space around you is not empty but full of gentle presence. When the breeze does find your face, it carries with it dry mineral scents from the stone. And above that, a slight coolness from the high, open sky. If you listen closely, you might almost hear it slide along the steps with you. A companion moving at your pace. To your left, carved figures line the staircase wall. They keep you company as you rise. Silent witnesses to countless other ascents. You cannot see each one clearly, but you feel the weight of their presence. A long, continuous band of forms carved into the stone. Standing shoulder to shoulder in patient stillness. Their very existence here grows from the same bedrock as the steps. As if the wall itself had decided to dream in human shapes. Their outlines are only hints in the darkness, long robes, tall headdresses, spears. In the dim light, details dissolve into suggestions. A curve that might be a folded sleeve. A line that might be the shaft of a spear. A broader plane that might be the front of a robe. You glimpse tall, narrow silhouettes that suggest height and dignity. Headdresses rising like muted crowns. From time to time, the faint sheen of the stone catches along a carved edge. And a shoulder or a beard comes briefly into focus, before sliding back into shadow. They are not alive, not moving, just shadows on stone. There is no breath in their chests. No flicker in their eyes. Only the illusion of life offered by form and shadow. Yet their unmoving presence is strangely comforting. They do not demand anything of you. Do not judge, do not expect. They simply stand there. Endlessly ascending beside you. Frozen in a march that goes nowhere and everywhere at once. Their stillness adds to your own. Inviting your thoughts to quieten and take their place. Among the carved silences. Only when you pass close to another lamp do their shapes gather a little detail. Then vanish again into the dusk behind you. As you approach each pool of light, a small portion of the procession wakes into clarity. Trimmed beards, folded garments, braided hair. You catch glimpses of faces carved in calm profiles. Eyes looking ahead with composed, timeless focus. For a few steps, they feel almost near. Almost like companions climbing at your side. Then, as you move on and the lamplight recedes, their features blur again into soft gray. Until they are once more nothing more than a suggestion. in the corner of your vision. If your eyes want to close between steps, they can. The staircase is steady under you. The rise so shallow that you could almost walk in your sleep. You can let your lids drift down halfway, or fully for a breath or two, trusting that your feet will still find the familiar, even path ahead. The darkness behind your eyes is not very different from the darkness around you. Both are gentle, both are safe. Your body knows the pattern: step, breath, step, breath. The rhythm has settled deep into your muscles, so deeply that you no longer have to think about it. Your legs move, your lungs expand. Your arms swing slightly at your sides in the most natural of ways. Even your heartbeat seems to align with this quiet sequence, tapping softly along with your footfalls. In this simple repetition, there is no effort left, only the smooth continuation of a familiar motion. You could almost climb with your eyes half shut, trusting the regular rhythm of the stairs beneath you. You might allow your gaze to soften, no longer trying to pick out each individual step, but letting them blur into one continuous ascent. You know that each step is like the last, and like the next, and that the staircase has no intention of surprising you. It is reliable, predictable. A pathway that has carried so many before you. You can lean into that dependability now, and let your mind drift away, even as your body continues its slow passage upward. At the top of the stairway, the terrace opens. There is a gentle sense of arrival as the steps level out beneath you, the upward motion easing into a broad, even surface. You feel the change not only under your feet, but in the way your chest and shoulders release, as if you have come out of a narrow corridor into a wide open room of air. The world seems to unfold all at once in every direction. The plateau stretches out, a great stone floor under the sky. Its expanse is calm and unbroken, like a vast, pale sea that has been frozen in place. You can see where the stone has been fitted together. Massive slabs joined with careful precision, their seams running in subtle lines that lead the eye outward. In some places, faint ridges and dips hint at the layers beneath. Stories of carving and preparation hidden below the smooth surface. All of it lies under the open night, exposed yet utterly at peace. Pools of lamplight dot the darkness here and there. Little islands of gold floating in a sea of blue-gray shadow. Some are set close to the ground on low stands. Some burn in small niches in the walls, each one anchoring a small pocket of clarity within the vast terrace. Around each lamp, details come into focus. The curve of a column base, the carved edge of a step, the faint impression of footprints where dust has settled. Between these pools, the stone fades into gentle obscurity, so that you move through alternating zones of clarity and dreamlike blur. You pause for a moment. Your feet come to rest. Your breathing settles even further. And you simply stand, allowing the scale of the terrace to wash through you. This pause has no purpose other than to let you feel how wide the night is here, how generous and open the space around you has become. You are in no one's way. Nothing is expecting you just yet. You can take as long as you like. The wind touches you more clearly now, having room to move across the open space. Out here, nothing confines it, so it glides freely over the stone, gathering coolness as it goes. It finds your face and hands, slides into the folds of your cloak, and traces the line of your shoulders and back with a soft, wandering hand. You feel it brush the hem of your garment, nudging it gently so that the fabric stirs and settles again. The wind is not strong, just lively enough to remind you that the night is a living presence. moving calmly all around you. It carries the dry smell of stone, a hint of dust, and something faintly sweet. The far-off trace of incense from a brazier somewhere deeper in the complex. Beneath the mineral dryness, there is also a whisper of old wood and burned oil. A fragrance that suggests flame and ritual. Hands tending coals and pouring liquid into lamps. The sweetness is subtle, as if the incense has long since been offered, and now lingers only as a memory in the air. With each breath, you draw in this blend of earth and smoke and faint perfume, and it settles inside you like a quiet, invisible warmth. Ahead of you rises the gate of all nations. Even in the low light, its great stone mass stands unmistakable against the sky. A monumental threshold that gathers the terrace around it. Its height seems to pull your gaze upward, from the level floor beneath your feet, to the deep, star-filled darkness framed by its upper edges. The gate does not appear heavy despite its size. It feels grounded and calm, as if it has always been there and always will be. Its massive stone guardians stand on either side. Winged bodies and calm, human faces carved from the pale rock. You see their broad chests rising from the carved hooves at their bases. Their wings folded along their flanks like long, patterned cloaks of stone. The human faces above are serene, their features stylized into an expression that is neither stern nor soft, but something timeless in between. They stand as if in silent acknowledgement of your passage. Not demanding, not warning. Simply present at the edge between outer and inner space. You do not see them in full detail. You see their bulk, their silhouettes against the lighter sky. The darkness hides the finer carving, leaving only the essential shapes. Broad wings, squared shoulders, upright heads. Their outlines stand out against a faint wash of starlit haze, so that each guardian looks like a fragment of mountain, given the suggestion of a face. You sense their size more than you measure it, feeling their presence around you like tall, quiet trees. The lamps at their feet warm the bases of their wings, leaving their heads high in darkness, like watchful constellations turned to stone. In the lower half of each guardian, the flame draws out the carving. Feathers etched into the wings. Bands and tassels on the garments. The gentle curve of the muscles in the legs. Above, the stone fades upward into blackness, until the faces become part of the night itself. It is as though the lower bodies belong to the earth and the craft of human hands, while the upper halves have already joined the sky, standing between two realms with effortless ease. You walk toward them, your footsteps soft on the terrace. The wide night opening around you like a calm sea. With every step, your body feels smaller against the looming gate, but also more held by its sheltering, open arch. Your pace remains slow, your steps measured and light, and the sound of your soles on stone is swallowed quickly by the vastness of the terrace. You are not hurrying to get somewhere. You are simply moving through an expanse of quiet that stretches on all sides, deep and peaceful as water. As you pass beneath the arch of the gate, the sound changes. It is a subtle shift at first. A slight thickening of the air around your ears. A longer echo following each footfall. The open wind of the terrace falls away behind you, replaced by a softer, more enclosed hush. You notice at once that your own presence feels more distinct within this space, as if your breath and movement belong more clearly inside these walls. Your steps echo more clearly, returning from stone walls and high columns. Each footfall now comes back to you twice. Once as the direct sound under your feet, and once as a faint, delayed response. from somewhere above and around. The echoes are not harsh. They are rounded, softened by the height and width of the passage. Your steps sound unhurried and precise, accompanied by that gentle, answering whisper of stone, as if the gate itself is acknowledging your passing. For a moment, you are held in a sheltered pocket of air. The world outside framed behind you. The inner courts of Persepolis waiting ahead. If you glance back, you see the terrace stretching away. The distant fires on the plain now framed by the massive sides of the gate. If you look forward, you sense further spaces yet unseen, lit in places by the same soft lamps, full of colonnades and courtyards and sleeping rooms. Here, in the threshold, you are between two worlds. Not fully in either. Suspended in a quiet pause that feels almost timeless. One lamp is set near the center of the gate hall. Its flame is small, but the stone around it gleams with a honey-colored sheen. The glow spreads in a gentle circle on the floor, illuminating the finely smoothed surface, and the faint traces of tool marks that still whisper of the craftsman's labor. Dust motes drift lazily through the air above the lamp, visible only as tiny specks when they cross the path of the light. From this little sun at your feet, warmth radiates up in the barest degree, just enough for you to feel a difference. When you pass close to it, you can see the floor, the marks of chisel and time, and the broad bases of the columns standing like quiet trees. The bases rise from the stone like massive roots, spreading slightly outward to bear the weight above. You can make out shallow grooves and ornamental ridges, their design softened by wear but still visible in the lamplight. Here and there, tiny chips and irregularities speak of centuries of footsteps and events. But the overall impression is one of enduring strength. The columns themselves vanish upward, their lower portions lit just enough to suggest their enormous height. You tilt your head back. Your neck lengthens, and your gaze climbs the column shafts and the inner faces of the gate, following their pale, vertical planes as they rise. Your eyes travel higher and higher, until they lose the stone entirely, and meet only the openness of the night beyond. For a moment, you feel as though your attention is being drawn from the ground to the very roof of the sky. The top of the gateway vanishes into darkness. There is no visible edge, no carved border to mark where the stone ends and the sky begins. Instead, the structure simply fades, its uppermost parts dissolving into a heavy, velvety black. This lack of clear boundary makes the gate feel even taller, as if it might go on rising far beyond your sight, continuing upward into realms you cannot see or imagine. Only the faintest suggestion of shape moves against the stars, as if the stone itself were dissolving into the night sky. You notice a slight dimming here, a subtle interruption in the pattern of the constellations there. Small signs that some vast mass stands between you and the heavens. But these signs are so gentle, so woven into the fabric of the darkness, that they feel less like obstruction, and more like a natural part of the sky's design. Stone and night blur together, joined in a single, peaceful silhouette. If your mind begins to wander here, if it drifts to other days or other worries, you can let those thoughts float away like smoke toward the open arch. You might imagine them curling up from your forehead, thin and insubstantial, rising on a soft, invisible current toward the stars beyond the gate. There is no need to hold them or push them away forcefully. They can simply uncurl, lighten, and drift outward into the night. You do not have to hold on to any of them. Each thought that leaves you creates a little more space inside, a little more silence in which to rest. The concerns that seemed important earlier lose their sharpness here under the high stone arch, thinned by distance and softened by the vastness around you. They become as faint as the marks of chisels on the floor, present but no longer demanding attention. The gate will remember where you are. You do not need to keep track of yourself, or of the path you have taken, or the path you will follow next. This place holds you, just as it has held so many passers-by over time. The stones under your feet, the towering pillars at your sides, and the arch above you form a quiet, steady shape that does not forget your small presence within it. You only need to breathe in the cool air of the open terrace behind you, out the warm air from your chest, carrying away whatever tension might remain. You can stand here for as long as you wish, doing nothing more than letting your lungs rise and fall, letting your shoulders sink and your jaw unclench. The gate will wait. The night will wait. There is no obligation, no next step that must be taken right away. Beyond the gate, the terrace opens again. You step forward, and the echoing shelter of the arch falls away behind you, replaced once more by open air and wide stone. The sensation is like moving from a quiet hall back into the open courtyard of the sky. The air suddenly larger and more spacious around you. To your right, rising from the stone like a forest of pillars, stands the great hall of the Apadana. Its many columns stand in regular ranks, spreading out in both directions, their bases anchored deep in the terrace, their hidden capitals holding up a roof you cannot see in the dark. From this distance, the hall appears less like a building, and more like a grove of stone trunks, deliberately planted in careful order. Even before you walk toward it, you can feel its vastness like a presence resting at your side. Even in the dark, its scale is felt more than seen. Your eyes register only portions of it at a time. The nearest pillars, the faint suggestion of others beyond. But your body understands that there are many more, stretching out beyond the reach of the lamplight. The quiet around it has a thickness, a depth that speaks of a great, enclosed space, lingering just beyond your sight. You sense more than you observe, and that sensing alone is enough to make you slow your steps in respect. Columns emerge where lamps have been set near their bases, their fluted shafts catching slices of warm light, then disappearing upward into pure shadow. Each lamp reveals a small portion of a column, the vertical grooves in the stone, imbued with a soft golden glow. The light schemes along the ridges and rests in the shallow valleys, making the surface look almost like flowing fabric that has been frozen into stone. Above the pools of light, the columns vanish into darkness, as if they were rooted here on earth, but extending indefinitely into the sky. You walk toward the nearest column. With every step, the towering shaft before you grows broader, until it fills more and more of your field of vision. You become aware of its mass, its patient immobility, the way it has stood here through uncounted days and nights. The air seems to grow slightly cooler the closer you draw to its shadow, as if the stone itself has gathered and held the chill of the evening. The air becomes slightly cooler here, the spaces between the pillars holding quiet like water in a deep pool. Sound changes again, your footsteps now cushioned by the close standing of the columns. The echoes are shorter, more intimate, as if they do not want to travel too far away from you. The air rests between the stone shafts, still and calm, carrying faint whispers of incense and ancient dust. It feels like walking into the shaded heart of a grove at twilight. A small clay lamp rests on a low stone beside the column's base. Its simple form is roughened here and there, a little chipped at the rim, darkened by lampblack in places where the flame has smoked. The oil within it gleams faintly, a small, contained sea of reflection, from which the wick rises like a quiet reed. The flame bends slightly, swaying in response to your approach, then straightening again, resuming its steady, patient burn. Its flame is steady, shielded from the breeze by the surrounding stone, the thick column behind it, and the low stone in front of it, form a sheltered nook, in which the small fire can rest undisturbed. No gust reaches it, no draft troubles it, so it burns with a deep, even glow, neither flaring nor shrinking. Its constancy is soothing to watch, a reminder that even the smallest light can be unwavering in the right place. You crouch briefly, and your hand reaches out to the carved base. As your knees bend, your cloak settles around your legs, the fabric folding into soft, comfortable layers. The world shifts perspective, and the column's base becomes a vast landscape in front of you, its carved details suddenly closer and more intimate. Your hand hovers for a moment above the stone, as if asking permission, and then settles down against its surface. The limestone is cool and faintly grainy under your fingers, edges softened by centuries of hands and feet and starlight. Your skin notices every small ridge and hollow, each slight irregularity that proves the stone is real. Not an image, not a dream. There is no sharpness here, only softened lines, worn and rounded by time and touch and weather. It feels as if the stone has grown gentle with age, its hardness tempered into a quiet, steady presence. Next to your hand, carved in low relief, a simple flower opens in stone, petals radiating out, precise and calm. The petals are not deep, only shallow lines and subtle depressions. Yet the shape is clear. It is neither extravagant nor overly ornate. It is an ideal flower, the idea of blossoming carved into rock. The petals stretch outward from a central point, a small circle where all the lines meet, like a still, peaceful heart. Under your fingertips, the flower feels both delicate and enduring, soft in form, strong in substance. In this little pool of light, it feels like the whole empire has narrowed to a single blossom. All the terraces and halls, all the stairways and gates, all the teeming lives and histories, gather themselves quietly into this one, small detail. The flower holds a fragment of the craftsman's care, the patience of their hands and eyes. As you trace its lines, your mind can rest from the enormity of stone and empire, and simply linger on this tiny, perfect pattern. For a few breaths, there is nothing but your hand, the coolness of the carved petals, and the small lamp beside you. You move deeper among the columns. You rise again from your crouch, feeling your knees straighten. The cloak slides softly back into place around your legs. Ahead, the columns form quiet ranks, receding into shadow like trees in a moonlit forest. You step forward, drawn into their ordered stillness. Here, the lamps thin out. One stands far ahead. Another burns faintly behind you. Between them, the columns stand in twilight. The spaces between the pools of light become longer and softer, so that you walk through stretches where shapes are defined more by absence of light than by its presence. Your eyes begin to work more gently, sensing gradients rather than sharp edges, shapes rather than specifics. Your eyes adjust. The shafts become silhouettes, pale against the darker sky. Where the gaps between the columns open upward, you see slivers of night. Thin wedges of deep blue and black, stitched with stars. The columns themselves are lighter, their stone catching the faint glow of the terrace and the sky, so that they stand out as pale trunks against a darker backdrop. You begin to perceive the hall as layers of light and dark, stone and sky overlapping in calm patterns. Above, between their vanished capitals, the stars are framed in thin, long windows. These windows are not perfectly regular. Here a slightly wider gap, there a slimmer one. But together they form a rhythm, a quiet sequence of star-filled slits that accompanies your steps. The stars seen through these vertical frames seem almost closer, brought down to your height by the columns that surround them. They watch you from every gap, steady and unblinking. Every step you take shifts those starry openings, as though the ceiling of the world were sliding gently back and forth. With each small movement of your body, the pattern of columns and sky rearranges itself, creating a new arrangement of frames and lights. It is like walking through a slow, silent music of forms. The notes made not of sound but of light and shadow. You are both witness and participant in this quiet rearranging. Your motion the key that causes the patterns to change. A whisper of air moves through the hall. It does not rush. It drifts, sliding between the stone shafts, like a careful hand passing through curtains. You feel it arrive as a faint coolness along your neck and cheeks, a soft stir in your cloak. The air seems to carry with it tiny traces of all the spaces it has passed through. The terrace outside, the high ceiling above, perhaps even the deep, unseen corners of the hall itself. It brushes your face and cloak, slipping past the stone like water through reeds. For a moment, you have the sense of standing in a shallow stream, the current moving gently around your legs, finding its way past obstacles without any hurry. The columns are the reeds, anchored deeply, unmoving, while the air flows between them, bringing a delicate, almost musical feel to this otherwise silent place. Somewhere, hidden in the forest of pillars, a lamp flickers and steadies again, its light rhythmically deepening the shadows and then releasing them. You see the brief pulse out of the corner of your eye, a momentary brightening as the flame lifts, followed by a soft dimming as it leans back into itself. Each flicker changes the way the shadows fall, the way the columns are outlined, the way the distant stone reliefs breathe in and out of perception. The hall feels alive, not with movement, but with the subtle play of its few, carefully placed lights. If your eyelids grow heavy here, you can let them close for a few breaths. The hall is safe, its vastness familiar and undemanding. You can rest your eyes behind their own curtain of darkness, and still feel the presence of the columns all around you, like quiet giants standing guard. The memory of the lamplight, the sense of space and height, lingers inside you even with your eyes shut. You do not need eyesight to feel stone all around you, to sense the vertical stillness of the columns, to hear the soft hush of the night filling this vast hall. Your skin can tell you about the cool air, your ears about the faint breath of wind, your body about the solid ground under your feet. Even without sight, you can perceive the scale of the space, the way sound travels or does not travel, the way your own presence feels small but welcomed within it. You are not required to look at anything. You are allowed simply to be here. enveloped in quiet. On the far side of the Apadana, a low stairway descends. As you move toward it, the columns gradually thin and open up, their orderly ranks ending and giving way to another stretch of broad stone. The stairway appears at first as a series of gentle shadows, a soft change in level at the edge of the hall's domain. Its steps are even more shallow, designed for processions that flowed like water rather than marched. Each riser is hardly more than a suggestion, so that the descent feels almost like walking down a smooth slope. You can imagine long lines of people gliding up and down these stairs in ceremonial quiet, robes moving in slow, measured waves, feet barely needing to lift. The architecture invites a kind of movement that is calm, continuous, and unbroken. Along the wall beside the steps, the stone is carved with figures. They accompany the stair, their procession echoing the human processions that once moved beside them. Their bodies are carved in shallow relief, so that they seem to emerge only partway from the stone, as if they belong equally to the wall and to the spaces beyond. From where you stand, they appear as a long, wavering band of darker shapes against the paler stone. You see them first as moving darkness, patterns of raised and recessed shadow. The low light grazes across the surface, catching edges and leaving other parts in shade, so that the figures appear to ripple slightly. As your viewpoint shifts, the effect is gentle, more like the play of moonlight on water than any real motion. You sense a rhythm in the alternation of shadowed robes and the light spaces between them. Then a lamp near the bottom catches them. In its warm glow, the procession appears. Men in long robes, their hair carefully arranged, hands folded or carrying small offerings. The robes fall in finely carved folds, their lines flowing downward in graceful arcs. You notice the suggestion of belts, of patterned hems where the craftsman etched quiet designs. Some figures hold small objects, perhaps bowls, perhaps covered dishes, perhaps gifts meant for a ruler long gone. Their hairstyles are carved with the same patience, each curl rendered in repeating lines, each beard shaped into ordered waves. But the details remain soft and blurred. The night and the modest lamplight keep you at a certain distance from exact clarity. Edges glow and then fade. Lines merge and separate again. As your eyes adjust and readjust, you are not given every contour, every delicate mark. You are offered just enough to feel the dignity and calm of the procession. The lack of perfect sharpness makes the figures more dreamlike, more fitting to the hour. You do not need to know their names, their homelands, their titles, all the specifics that once surrounded these carved people. Their languages, their duties, their histories have fallen silent tonight. The stone no longer insists on recounting them. What remains is the simple fact of their presence, their shared direction, their patient, upward movement. You are free to meet them as they are now. A quiet line of figures ascending through time. They are simply gentle silhouettes. Lines of figures walking forever upward in the stone. Calm faces turned toward a king who is no longer here. Their expressions, softened by shadow, are neither joyous nor sorrowful, only composed. They move in perfect unison, their feet stepping onto the carved steps, their bodies aligned in a harmony of posture and proportion. They are going somewhere, but they do not need to arrive. Their journey is their existence, unhurried and unbroken. For a moment, a trick of flame makes one shadow seem to take a step. The lamp flickers, sending a brief wave of brighter light along the wall. One figure's leg seems to shift, one arm to move slightly, a robe to swing forward a fraction more than before. It is only light. Only the eye's eagerness to see motion where there is none. But for that heartbeat, you could almost believe that the stone itself had breathed. Then the lamp steadies, and everything returns to stillness. The flame draws itself upright, and the shadows settle back into their usual places. The procession becomes once more a quiet pattern in the stone. Unmoving, unchanging. The stair beside it waits patiently for your feet, offering you the same gentle descent it has offered to so many others. The hall behind you stands hushed, as if it too were listening to the silence. If your thoughts slip away here, following some private memory, that is perfectly all right. You might think of other stairways, other nights, other journeys you have taken in your life. You might forget for a little while where you are in the story, and simply feel the presence of stone, light, and shadow. There is no need to pull yourself back quickly. The carved procession will keep climbing, slowly, silently, whether you watch them or not. They do not rely on your attention to exist or to continue. They will keep walking upward in the stone, long after you have turned away, long after this night is over, long after your own thoughts have moved on to other things. Knowing this can be a comfort. The world does not stop when your mind wanders. And you do not have to hold everything in place. You can let go. And still, quietly, the stone figures will climb. You reach the bottom of the stairway and step back onto the terrace. The last shallow step carries you down, from the woven company of stone figures, to the broad, open floor once more. As your foot finds level ground, you feel a subtle change in your body. A release, a settling, as if a small journey has completed itself within the larger journey of the night. Here the wind is a little stronger. It seems to have more room to gather speed as it travels across the open stone, unhindered by the shelter of columns or walls. It flows toward you in a smooth, even current, neither cold nor harsh, but lively enough to rustle the edge of your cloak and brush the hair at your temples. Its touch wakes the surface of your skin in a pleasant, tingling way. It crosses the open stone, smooth and cool, sliding along your cheeks and into the folds of your cloak. You feel it slip between the fabric and your body, here and there, finding small openings at your collar or sleeves, refreshing the warmth collected there. The stone at your feet, broadened into a long terrace once again, radiates a faint stored coolness upward, so that you stand in a quiet balance between the chilled ground and the moving air. Ahead, the terrace stretches toward the edge of the platform. The stone seems to pour forward in a gentle slope, widening slightly as it approaches the unseen drop beyond. From where you stand, you can see only the suggestion of the terrace's far boundary, a darker line against the sky, hinting at the low wall that waits there. The space between you and that edge feels like a patient invitation, a calm path that asks nothing of you, but to walk it at your own pace. Beyond that edge, nothing but darkness until the first lights far on the plain. You know the land continues downward, fields and tracks and houses and people. But the night has gathered it all into a single, continuous shadow. Only the scattered village fires break through that dark field. Small, steady points that seem to hover at the farthest reach of sight. The drop from platform to plane remains unseen. A gentle mystery held in the quiet distance. You walk toward that long, quiet drop. Your footsteps make small, hollow sounds on the stone, barely audible over the sigh of the wind. With each step, the sense of the terrace's breadth stretches around you, the empty space expanding not only in front, but to either side. You feel as if you are walking toward the very edge of the sky, where the solid certainty of stone will meet the open uncertainty of the night. Closer, you can see the low protective wall, waist-high. Its top edge worn smooth by countless hands who, like you, have leaned and looked out. The wall rises gently from the terrace. A simple, sturdy boundary between walking space and empty air. Its surface is pale in the starlight, the upper edge softened into a subtle curve. From years of contact with skin and cloth and time, some places show a slightly deeper polish, where hands have rested more often, where elbows have lingered in unhurried contemplation of the view below. You rest your palms on it. The stone is cool and dry and very solid beneath your fingers. Its firmness travels up through your wrists and into your arms. A reassurance of stability at the very edge of the drop. The texture is smooth but not slick, with just enough grain to grip your skin lightly, anchoring you to this place. Your fingers spread, finding their own natural positions along the curve, and your weight leans forward a little, into the safety of the wall. Below, the land lies in shadow. You cannot see the fields or the paths, only the impression of depth. The way the air seems to fall away from your vantage point. It is as though the dark plain is a vast sea of unseen shapes, rolling out toward the horizon without a single wave visible. You know there are dwellings, small enclosures of stone or mud brick, animals sleeping in pens, people resting inside. But all of that is wrapped in darkness, tucked away beneath the broad blanket of the night. You cannot see the fields or the paths, only the impression of depth. The way the air seems to fall away from your vantage point. The sense of the drop is subtle rather than dizzying, more like standing at the top of a very gentle slope. Then at a cliff's edge, the plateau feels sure under your feet, and the wall under your hands is steady and reassuring. The depth you perceive is not threatening. It is simply the measure of distance between you and the small lights far below. Tiny fires shimmer far off, like distant, patient stars on the earth. They do not flicker quickly. Their light is slow and steady, brightening a little and dimming a little, with the rhythms of their coals and flames. Around each fire, unseen, there might be voices, or quiet movements as someone adds a piece of wood, or just stillness as bodies sleep nearby. From here, all of that experience is distilled into a single point of radiance, a calm glimmer that persists in the dark. Above, the real stars are sharp and brilliant. They seem almost close enough to touch, as if the sky has drawn nearer, in response to the platform's great height. Some stars are faint and delicate, tiny grains of light sprinkled liberally across the firmament, while others are bolder, shining with a white or slightly tinted intensity that catches your eye and holds it. They are scattered in patterns your mind half remembers, constellations that seem to hover just on the edge of recognition. 4 of them seem to hold the sky at its corners, standing slightly apart from the others, steady and bright. They form a great, quiet square overhead, not perfect in its lines, but unmistakable in its suggestion of a frame. Within that invisible frame, the rest of the stars seem to move and shimmer, while the four corner points hold their ground. There is a sense that they have been watching for a very long time, anchoring the sky from their high positions. They look like watchers who never sleep. Not stern, not harsh. Just present. Attentive in a way that does not tire. You may come and go. Wake and dream and wake again. But those four lights, and many others besides, will remain where they are, gazing down with an unchanging, gentle indifference. It is a comforting thought that the world is held in a larger stillness. That does not depend on you. If your eyes want to blur as you gaze upward, let them. You are not required to trace the outlines of constellations, or to count the points of light. Your vision can soften, letting the stars smear slightly into one another, their sharp edges melting into a luminous haze. You might feel your eyelids droop a little, with the effortlessness of it, the sky becoming less a crisp pattern to analyze, and more a gentle glow to rest beneath. The stars can merge and soften until they are just a gentle brightness, a soft veil across the sky. Instead of countless individual lights, you see one broad, shimmering presence, spread wide overhead. The dark spaces between the stars become thinner, permeated by their combined glow, so that the sky feels more like a vast, luminous cloth than a deep, cold emptiness. You could imagine pulling that soft veil around you, like a blanket of light. You do not have to keep them in focus. The sky will remain whether you look at it clearly or not. You can let your gaze drift back down to the wall, to the stone under your hands, or close your eyes entirely, keeping the memory of the stars inside your chest, as an impression of calm brightness. There is nothing in the heavens tonight that requires vigilance from you. You are allowed to relax completely. After some unhurried time at the terrace edge, you turn back toward the interior of the complex. Your hands leave the worn stone of the wall, and for a moment they hold the memory of its coolness, its firmness. Before the night air wraps around your fingers again, your feet find their rhythm once more on the terrace floor, carrying you away from the view and back into the palace's embrace. To your left, a smaller court opens, more enclosed, quieter. Its entrance is modest, a simple widening of the passage between low walls. From here, it looks like a calm recess, carved into the larger space of the terrace. A place where sound might lie more gently, where the wind might pass with a softer step. Something inside it calls to you, not loudly, but with the subtle appeal of water and warmth and stone. You follow a narrow path of lamplight between low walls, until you hear it, the steady murmur of water. The lamps are placed at intervals along the way, their small flames picking out just enough detail to keep you sure of your footing. Between each pool of light, the path dips into shadow, so that you walk through alternating bands of brightness and dusk. Somewhere ahead, the sound of falling water gently grows, a constant, soothing note in the background. The sound draws you gently forward. It is not loud enough to command, only persistent enough to invite. You find yourself attuning to its rhythm, noticing the slight variations in the flow. A tiny splash here, a smoother rush there. The closer you come, the more distinct it becomes, resolving from a general whisper into the clear murmur of water moving over stone. In the center of this court, a simple channel of stone carries water from the hidden heights beyond the terrace. You see it as you step into the courtyard proper. A narrow, carved runnel that cuts straight through the middle of the floor. The channel is not wide. Only a hand span across. But it is deep enough to hold a stream of water that moves with quiet assurance. The stone around it is smoother, darkened slightly with the touch of moisture and time. It spills over a small lip, falling 2 hand widths into a shallow basin and then disappearing again. The tiny waterfall is modest, no more than a clear ribbon sliding over the carved edge. But its continuous descent creates a serene, liquid voice in the night. The basin beneath receives the water with a soft, rounded sound. A series of gentle, overlapping ripples that spread outward and then vanish down the exit channel. From there, the water journeys on to places you cannot see. The water glows faintly, catching the light from a single oil lamp nearby. The flame's reflection dances on its surface, stretching into little golden threads that sway and twist with every movement of the water. Where the flow is smoothest, the reflection is almost a perfect line. Where it breaks over the lip, the reflection shatters into shards of brightness, reforming itself again in the calmer pool below. The combination of motion and light is hypnotic in its simplicity. Each ripple distorts the reflection of the flame, stretching it into thin strands of gold, then pulling it back together. You could watch this forever. The endless sequence of subtle variations, never quite repeating, always returning to a familiar, soothing pattern. The flame itself remains steady, but in the water, it becomes fluid, elongated, compressed, rotated, playing out a quiet, glowing dance. Just for those who pause to see it. You kneel. Your knees find the cool stone of the courtyard floor, and your cloak spreads around you like a dark pool. From this lower vantage point, the water seems closer, more intimate. Its sound fuller, its movement more prominent in your field of view. You sense the giving of your joints, the way your body shifts into a posture of rest and attention. Cool air rises from the channel. It differs from the air of the terrace, slightly more damp, holding a hint of the hidden sources from which the water springs. As it touches your cheeks and forehead, it brings a refreshing clarity, like a gentle hand smoothing away the last traces of the day's heat. The contrast between the coolness near the water and the mild warmth of your own skin is pleasantly vivid. When you dip your fingers into the stream, the cold is crisp and clear, like touching night itself in liquid form. The water slips around your fingertips, swift but not forceful, like a silk ribbon drawn steadily through your hand. The chill sinks quickly into your skin, then into the more tender places beneath, until you feel the sensation bloom in your palms and wrists. It is startling for an instant, and then deeply soothing, as if the night has given you a small, tangible gift of its purest coolness. You cup your hands and bring a little of it to your face. Droplets escape between your fingers, falling back into the channel with tiny, musical taps. The water that reaches your skin feels even cooler now, after being lifted briefly into the warmer air. As you press your hands lightly to your face, the chill spreads across your forehead, your cheeks, the bridge of your nose, softening every small tension it encounters. The water smells faintly of stone and earth, washing away the dryness of the day. There is no heavy scent of vegetation or clay, only the clean, almost invisible fragrance of mineral, depth, and movement. You breathe it in as you hold your hands there, letting the scent mix with the lingering traces of incense in the air. creating a blend that feels both grounding and ethereal. In this moment, you are connected to the unseen sources above, to the long path the water has traveled, to reach this quiet courtyard. If you feel your body beginning to soften, your shoulders dropping, your breath lengthening as the water's sound plays in your ears, you can let that happen. There is no need to hold yourself upright or alert. The stone beneath you is stable, the courtyard private and safe, the night outside keeping a calm watch. You can allow your spine to curve a little, your head to bow forward slightly, your muscles to release their grip on the day. You are allowed to be as relaxed here as the flowing stream, just as the water moves without forcing itself, shaping itself to the channel and the basin. You too can shape yourself to this moment, fitting easily into its contours. Your breath can flow like the water, steady, unhurried, always arriving, always leaving, always returning. Nothing in this space asks you to be more awake than you naturally are right now. On the far side of the courtyard, a low brazier burns. Its light is deeper and redder than the lamplight by the water, a richer glow from coals that have been burning for some time. The brazier stands on short legs above the floor, its metal bowl darkened by soot and heat, its rim rimmed with a faint, rusty sheen. From it, a warm halo of light and heat spreads outward, gentle but steady. Its coals glow deep red, with tongues of orange flame rising now and then where a fragment of scented wood catches. You can see the shapes of the coals, small and irregular, each one holding a concentrated heat that pulses and shifts as the fire breathes. When a thin piece of resinous wood catches, a flame springs up, light and lively, licking the air for a few moments before sinking back into the bed of embers. The movement is slow enough to be soothing, predictable enough to calm. Thin smoke curls upward. It does not rush toward the open sky, but climbs in slow, spiraling paths, twisting gently as if exploring the space above the brazier. As it rises, it thins, its gray-blue strands dissolving gradually into the darkness overhead. Now and then, a faint breeze from the courtyard entrance nudges the smoke sideways, spreading its scent through the space in delicate, shifting trails. The smell is warm and layered, sandalwood, perhaps, and something a little bitter, maybe myrrh or another resin. The sweetness of the sandalwood is soft and rounded, like the memory of sun on old wood, while the bitter note sharpens it slightly, adding depth and interest without ever becoming harsh. Together, they create a fragrance that feels both grounding and elevated, earthy and ceremonial at once. With each breath, you draw in a little of this warm scent, letting it mingle with the coolness of the water and the freshness of the night air. It is not strong enough to sting, just present enough to soften the night air. It does not crash over your senses. It arrives quietly, folding itself into the atmosphere of the courtyard, the way a low, steady tone folds into a melody. You might only notice it when you pause to breathe deeply, when you close your eyes for a moment, and pay attention to the air itself. Its subtleness is part of its comfort, asking nothing, merely offering a gentle presence. A figure stands nearby, robed in white that glows softly in the firelight. The cloth catches the brazier's warmth, turning pale folds into shades of soft gold and muted orange. The edges of the robe fade into the surrounding shadows, so that only the central areas, the folds around the arms, the curve of the shoulders, are clearly defined. The figure stands with a composed stillness, body oriented toward the fire, as if the flames are an old and familiar companion. You see him only as a silhouette. Hands raised a little, lips moving in a quiet stream of words. The features of his face are mostly in shadow, lit only by the fluctuating glow from below. His hands, lifted slightly from his sides, catch the light along their edges, showing fingers curled or open in subtle, slow gestures. His lips move without urgency, forming words that spill gently into the night. Words that you hear more as melody than as meaning. The sound of his voice is low, a steady, rhythmic chanting that folds around the crackle of coals. The syllables rise and fall in an even pattern, neither hurried nor drawn out, each phrase flowing into the next, with the smoothness of water in the channel behind you. The crackling of the fire weaves through this low chant, two sounds overlapping and merging. One human, one elemental. Both unhurried, both intent on nothing but continuing. You do not need to understand what he says. The content of the words is not yours to carry. You are free from their definitions and demands. What reaches you is tone, cadence, the gentle insistence of a voice that knows what it is doing. That has done this many times before. The lack of understanding is, in its own way, a kind of rest. Nothing is being asked of your mind. The tone alone is enough, patient, measured, respectful. You can hear in it the way he stands in relation to the fire, to the water, to the night sky above. There is a softness in the way each line ends. No sharp cuts. Only phrases that taper off into a shared silence with the embers. You might feel, listening, that some quiet agreement is being reaffirmed. Some centuries-old conversation continuing in this new moment. A conversation between a human being and something larger, unseen. It might be the gods he addresses, or the spirit of this place, or the vast order of the world itself. Whatever it is, the exchange feels balanced and calm, with no desperation, no pleading urgency. Just a steady offering of words. A steady answering presence in the feel of the air and the fire. You stand at a comfortable distance, listening as the words rise and fall, mixing with the sound of water and the whisper of the breeze. From where you are, all the sounds of the courtyard blend into a single, layered hush. The chant threads through the murmur of the stream, and the gentle crackling of coals, while the faint rustle of your own cloak, and the distant sigh of wind through unseen passageways, form an even softer background. Nothing dominates. Every sound keeps its place, contributing quietly to the whole. If your mind loosens here, if the chant becomes a background hum you barely notice, that is welcome. You do not need to cling to every word or every tone. You can let them pass through you, the way the smoke passes through the air of the courtyard. Present for a time, changing shape as they go, and then vanishing into the larger night. You might even find that the less you pay attention, the more deeply the sound seems to sink into your body, calming you from the inside out. You do not have to hold on to the meaning of anything. It is enough to stand here, to feel the warmth of the brazier on the front of your body, and the coolness of the courtyard stone under your feet. The meaning, if there is any, belongs to the one who chants, and perhaps to the silent presence he addresses. For you, there is only this moment of shared stillness, this gentle immersion in sound and scent and subdued light. Only the feeling of safety, of someone keeping watch, of a fire tended carefully through the night. The robed figure will remain as long as he needs to, and when he leaves, Another will take his place at some other time. The fires will be lit and extinguished. The water will continue to flow. And the sky will continue to wheel overhead. You are free to leave this courtyard, knowing that the night has its own guardians and rhythms. That you are not required to stay awake with it. Later in the quiet hall, you find the entrance to a smaller palace. You have left the water's murmur and the chant behind. Their sounds fading into the distance, like songs heard from another room. The corridors you follow grow more enclosed. Their walls closer. Their lamps spaced in a way that guides you gently forward. Eventually, you come upon a short flight of stone steps, rising in front of a carefully carved doorway. Stone steps rise again, though not many, leading to a doorway framed by finely carved jambs. These steps are modest, each riser cut with precision, their edges still sharp enough to catch the lamplight. The jambs beside the doorway bear delicate patterns. Lines of stylized leaves. Geometric bands. Perhaps small figures at the very base. Their details are muted by the dim light, but their presence adds a sense of quiet care to this entrance. This is not a public gate, but a more personal threshold. Inside, the air is warmer. As soon as you pass through the doorway, you feel a subtle shift in temperature. A gentle embrace of accumulated heat. The warmth does not oppress. It comforts, seeping into your cloak and clothing, and relaxing the skin beneath. It is the warmth of enclosed spaces that have held lamps and bodies and breath throughout the evening. The ceiling is lower than the open sky, supported by cedar beams that carry a faint, resinous scent. The beams stretch across the room in even intervals. Dark lines against the softer tones of the plaster or stone above them. Their surfaces are smooth, burnished slightly by time and rising heat. And from their joints, the faint smell of aged wood and resin drifts downward. It is a scent that hints at forests long ago. Trees once living now transformed into shelter overhead. Several lamps burn here, placed in niches in the walls and on low stands near the floor. Each lamp contributes its own small circle of light, and together they create a layered, gentle illumination. The light touches the floor, the lower sections of the walls, and the nearest carved details, leaving the upper corners of the room in soft but friendly shadow. There are no sharp contrasts, only gradual shifts from gold to dusk. Their combined glow turns the room into a gentle pool of gold, banishing the sharpest shadows but leaving the corners soft and dim. The air itself seems to glow, filled with a kind of visual warmth that mirrors the physical warmth on your skin. Edges and lines become less severe, shapes blending into one another with a quiet grace. The room feels like a haven, a place designed for conversation and thought, or perhaps simply for sitting and being. While the night passes outside, the walls show carved images. A king stepping forward, attendants behind him, a lion and a bull frozen in their eternal embrace of struggle. The scenes are arranged in horizontal bands, telling their stories in a steady, measured procession. The king stands tall, his figure emphasized by clear lines and a slightly larger scale. Behind him, attendants follow in orderly ranks, their postures mirroring one another, in a pattern of loyalty and ceremony. Further along, the lion and bull meet in a stylized grapple, their bodies arranged in a balanced, ornamental tangle. But tonight, they are quiet, their forms blurred and peaceful. The lamplight softens every sharp line. The king's staff, the attendant spears, the claws and horns of the animals. What might have felt forceful or grand in bright daylight now appears as a sequence of curved and angled shapes, composed more for beauty than for narrative. The struggle between lion and bull loses its urgency in this glow, becoming simply another pattern of intertwined forms. The lion's teeth are softened by shadow, its body a simple curve in the stone. You see less of a predator, and more of a flowing shape that echoes the arcs and spirals elsewhere in the carvings. The bull's muscles, too, lose their tension, its powerful form rendered as a gentle, rounded mass. Their clash feels almost like a dance, stilled into a single gesture that has ceased to mean conflict, and now means only balance. You move slowly along the wall, tracing only those shapes that feel calm beneath your fingers. A fold of robe, a palm leaf, a flower. Your hand glides lightly over the stone, avoiding sharper motifs, resting instead on the soft lines and familiar natural forms. When you follow the curve of a robe, you feel its carved motion, a suggestion of fabric caught in a timeless breeze. The palm leaf beneath your fingertips is a series of fine, parallel lines, fanning outward in a soothing rhythm. A flower, tucked into the border of a scene, offers you its carved petals, echoing the stone blossom you touched earlier by the column. If you feel some part of yourself wanting to rest here, to remain in this warm, quiet chamber while the story continues elsewhere, you can let that part sink down. You might imagine a version of yourself, sitting on a low bench by the wall, eyes half closed, hands still resting on the cool stone, breathing in lamp smoke and cedar. That self can stay here for as long as it likes, while another, lighter part of you goes on through the palace. The rest of you, light as a thought, can continue walking. This lighter self needs no effort to move, no strain in the muscles, no tightness in the joints. It floats forward along the corridor, supported by the warmth of the room behind, and drawn gently by the coolness of the spaces ahead. You are both resting and moving, both here and there, all within the same quiet night. The palace opens into a small courtyard. You sense the change in the air before you see it. A hint of cooler temperature, a touch of moving breeze, slipping through the next doorway. When you step through, the ceiling falls away, and you find yourself once more beneath the open sky. Here the roof pulls back, revealing a square of night. The courtyard is framed on all sides by walls and columns, but its heart is open, a clear window to the stars above. The edges of the roof around it create a dark frame, focusing your attention on that single portion of the heavens. It feels like gazing up through a perfectly cut piece of stone, a rectangular well filled with sky. Columns stand at the edges, more slender than those of the great hall, their tops lost in the darkness above. They rise from the courtyard floor, like tall, graceful stems, their bases firmly planted, their shafts smooth and subtly rounded. The lamps here are few, so their upper portions remain almost entirely hidden, suggested only by the way the shadows fall where they should be. You can sense their presence, even when you cannot see their full height. Between them, the sky looks almost close enough to touch. The stars framed by these slender pillars seem more intimate, less distant, as if they have stepped forward to peer into this small, sheltered space. The darkness between the stars appears deeper here, contrasting with the faint light of the courtyard, and making each point of brightness stand out more clearly. You might have the passing thought that if you reached upward with your fingertips, you could brush that dark fabric of the sky and feel it cool and smooth against your skin. A single brazier stands in the courtyard center, its glow bright enough to warm the nearest stone, but not so bright that the stars vanish. The brazier's flame is contained, kept at a measured size, by the amount of fuel and air it receives. Its circle of light reaches outward, just far enough to illuminate the middle of the courtyard, leaving the corners and upper walls in a twilight that does not compete with the sky above. The balance between the earth's fire and the heaven's light feels deliberate and kind. They hang above the flame like a second fire, distant and cool. The stars appear to echo the brazier, tiny points of white and pale blue, mirroring the ember glow below, but in a colder, more remote register. You stand between them, your body the link between the warm circle of the brazier and the vast, cool dome of the night. The two fires, one near, one unimaginably far, coexist without disturbing one another, each adding its own quiet radiance to the scene. You sit on a low stone bench along the courtyard edge. The seat welcomes you, its height just right for your legs to bend comfortably, its length giving you room to shift if you wish. As you lower yourself, your cloak spreads slightly, cushioning the contact between you and the stone. Your weight settles, and the ground beneath you holds you reliably, without the slightest tremor. The seat has been worn smooth over time, its surface bearing the slight polish of countless cloaks and robes. You can feel where the stone has yielded to the repeated pressure of human bodies, the shallow concavity that has formed where people have sat and leaned and rested. This smoothness is not glossy. It is subtle. The difference between untouched stone and stone that has known companionship. Your fingertips, exploring the bench beside you, find no cracks or sharp edges. Only the soft, continuous plane of age and use. The stone's coolness seeps through the fabric beneath you, meeting the warmth of your body and settling into a perfect, silent balance. At first, the chill bites lightly into your muscles, reminding you that the stone is solid and indifferent. Then, as your body heat seeps into it, the temperature equalizes, creating a neutral zone where you and the stone meet, without conflict. This slow exchange of warmth has its own soothing rhythm, a kind of unspoken conversation between your body and the place where you rest. If your back wants to lean against the wall, if your head feels heavy on your neck, go ahead and rest it. You can shift your weight backward until your shoulders find the support of the courtyard wall. The stone at your back is as steady as the stone beneath you, giving your spine a gentle, unyielding line to follow. Your head can tilt slightly, letting the muscles at the base of your skull release their long-held work. Even the small movement of relaxing your jaw, letting your teeth part a little, adds to the sense of relief. You can close your eyes for a while. The brazier's warmth nearby, the faint echo of voices from distant rooms, the soft whisper of air moving through the open square of sky. All of these continue whether you watch them or not. Behind your closed lids, you might still see the afterimage of the flames, flickering gently, or faint impressions of column shapes and star patterns. You are free to let those images come and go, without following them. The courtyard will remain unchanging, a doorway between flame and stars. The bench will keep its quiet shape, the columns their slender lines, the brazier its low, persistent glow. Above, the sky will continue its imperceptible turning, constellations sliding slowly along, paths too gradual to see. This space does not need your attention to stay as it is. Knowing that, you can relax even more deeply, trusting that the world can hold itself for a while without your help.